November 12, 1942. Richmond Shipyard No. 2, California. 2300 hours. Raymond Reeves, 34, welder from Richmond, California, stood on the keel plate of what would become SS Robert E. Peary. Behind him, 4,500 shipyard workers waited for starting whistle. In front of him, cameras from every newsreel company in America, prepared to record what Henry Kaiser called impossible, turned possible. The bet was simple. Could American industrial workers build a complete 10,000-ton cargo ship in less than 5 days? Traditional shipbuilding took 6 months. Kaiser's revolutionary methods had cut that to 6 weeks. But 5 days? That was insanity. Shipbuilders worldwide said it couldn't be done. The laws of physics, metallurgy, and construction sequencing made it impossible. Reeves didn't care about laws of physics. He cared about workflow. He'd spent 2 years perfecting continuous welding techniques that everyone said were crazy. Welding ship hulls that fast created heat stress. Welds would crack. Hulls would fail. Every maritime engineer knew this. Reeves knew something else. If you controlled heat distribution correctly and sequenced welds properly, steel could be joined faster than anyone thought possible. And if one ship could be built in 5 days, America could build enough ships to win the war before Germany could sink them. What happened over the next 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes would revolutionize industrial production forever. By November 1942, the Battle of the Atlantic was killing Allied merchant shipping faster than traditional shipyards could replace losses. German U-boats sank approximately 600,000 tons of shipping monthly. American and British shipyards produced about 500,000 tons monthly using conventional construction methods. The math was simple and terrifying. The Allies were losing. President Roosevelt demanded solutions. The answer came from an unlikely source: Henry J. Kaiser, a construction magnate who'd never built ships before the war, but who understood mass production better than any traditional shipbuilder. Kaiser proposed building merchant ships the way Ford built automobiles. Assembly line methods, prefabricated components, continuous workflow, welding instead of riveting. Traditional shipbuilding used riveted construction. Skilled riveters worked for weeks connecting steel plates with hundreds of thousands of rivets. The process was slow, labor-intensive, and required highly trained workers. Welding could join plates faster, but maritime engineers worried about weld strength, heat distortion, and metal fatigue. Riveted construction was proven. Welded construction was experimental. Kaiser didn't care about tradition. He cared about production rate. His Richmond shipyards used welding exclusively. They prefabricated entire ship sections in assembly areas, then moved completed sections to the ways for final assembly. This cut construction time dramatically. The first Liberty ship from Kaiser's yards, SS Patrick Henry, took 244 days to build in December 1940. By late 1941, Kaiser's yards averaged 60 days per ship. By mid-1942, 40 days. By October 1942, the average was 27 days. But Kaiser wanted to prove a point. If American industry could build a ship in days rather than weeks, it proved that industrial capacity could overwhelm any enemy. The propaganda value would boost morale. More importantly, it would terrify Germany by demonstrating American industrial might. Raymond Reeves was Kaiser's secret weapon. Reeves had worked construction before the war, welding structural steel for buildings and bridges. When Richmond shipyards opened in 1940, Reeves applied as a welder despite no shipbuilding experience. Traditional shipbuilders scorned construction welders. Ship welding required maritime certification, specialized techniques, and years of apprenticeship. Construction welders couldn't build ships. Everyone knew that. Reeves didn't know that. He just knew welding, and he saw that ship welding, for all its mystique, was joining steel plates under stress. He'd done that on suspension bridges, on building frames, on pressure vessels. The principles were identical: heat management, penetration depth, cooling rate, stress distribution. If you understood those principles, you could weld anything, but Reeves added something traditional. Ship welders didn't. Speed. Construction welding emphasized completing welds fast because time was money. Shipbuilding emphasized perfect welds because lives depended on them. Reeves thought you could have both. Perfect fast welds if you planned properly. His technique violated every traditional rule. Maritime welders made one pass on each weld, waited for cooling, inspected, then proceeded to next weld. This prevented heat accumulation and gave steel time to stabilize. Reeves made multiple passes without waiting, moving continuously along seams. He kept the steel hot deliberately, which traditional welders said would cause warping and stress cracks. But Reeves had figured out something. If you kept the entire area uniformly hot and controlled cooling rate with proper sequencing, the steel didn't warp. It settled evenly, and continuous welding was 5 times faster than stop-and-wait welding. That speed came with risk. If Reeves was wrong, welds would fail and ships would sink. But if he was right, America could build ships faster than Germany could sink them. Kaiser's engineers tested Reeves's technique extensively in 1941 and 1942. They built test sections. They stressed them. They X-rayed welds. They analyzed metallurgy. The continuous weld technique produced joints as strong as traditional methods, but in 1/5 the time. By mid-1942, Reeves was training other welders in his methods. By October, Richmond yards had 600 welders using Reeves's techniques. The Robert E. Peary build was Reeves's technique taken to extreme. Kaiser organized the entire shipyard around continuous workflow. Every section was prefabricated simultaneously. The ship would be assembled in 4.5 days of non-stop work. Reeves would lead the welding teams, coordinating 200 welders working in rotating shifts to maintain continuous progress. The starting whistle blew at midnight November 12th. Within minutes, the keel was being welded to framing members. Section by section, the ship took shape. Bottom plates, side plates, deck plates, bulkheads, superstructure. The work never stopped. When one welding crew tired, another took over. Reeves moved constantly through the construction, checking welds, adjusting techniques, solving problems. Traditional shipbuilders watched with horror and fascination. The speed was unprecedented. But surely quality must be suffering. Surely welds were failing. Surely heat stress was warping steel. They waited for disaster. Disaster didn't come. The ship took shape precisely according to plan. By November 14th, the hull was complete. By November 15th, the superstructure was installed. By November 16th, the ship was mechanically complete. By November 17th at 15:29 hours, 4 days, 15 hours, and 29 minutes after the first keel weld, SS Robert E. Peary slid down the ways into San Francisco Bay. Newsreel cameras captured the launch. Kaiser stood with Reeves watching the ship float. Kaiser turned to cameras and said, "This is what American industry can do. This is why we will win this war." But the question remained. Was Peary actually seaworthy? Or was it a propaganda stunt that would sink the first time it encountered rough seas? Traditional shipbuilders predicted the welds would fail. The ship would break apart. Kaiser had built the world's most expensive publicity failure. Peary underwent sea trials in late November. She performed perfectly. Her welds showed no stress cracks. Her hull showed no warping. She was as seaworthy as any traditionally built ship. On December 13, 1942, Peary left San Francisco carrying 10,500 tons of cargo bound for the South Pacific. Over the next 3 years, Peary completed 47 cargo voyages to war zones. She survived storms, submarine attacks, and rough handling. Her welds never failed. When the Navy inspected her in 1945, they found her in better structural condition than many traditionally built Liberty ships of the same age. Reeves's continuous welding technique worked not just fast but durably. The Richmond shipyards went on to build 747 Liberty ships and Victory ships before war's end. More than any other shipyard complex, average construction time was 24 days per ship. Total American Liberty ship production reached 2,610 vessels. These ships carried the supplies that won the war. Without them, the invasion of Europe would have been impossible. But Peary remained the record holder. No ship before or since has been built so quickly. 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes from keel to launch. The record stands 82 years later, unchallenged and likely unchallengeable. Raymond Reeves received little personal recognition during the war. He was a worker, not a boss. Newspapers credited Kaiser and his management team. But within the shipbuilding industry, Reeves's techniques revolutionized welding. After the war, continuous welding became standard practice worldwide. The techniques Reeves pioneered building Liberty ships are now taught in every maritime welding school. Reeves worked Richmond shipyards until they closed in 1945. He returned to construction welding, working on bridges and buildings until retiring in 1972. He rarely discussed his shipyard work. When asked about the Peary record, his response was always similar. "We just welded the ship. Kaiser organized the work. The workers built it. I helped with the welding part." His grandson, interviewed in 2015, said Reeves kept one memento from the war: a small brass plaque reading SS Robert E. Peary, 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes, November 12 to 17, 1942. It sat on his workshop bench for 40 years. "Grandpa never bragged about it," his grandson said, but he was proud of what those workers accomplished. He'd say, "We proved America could outbuild anyone. We proved industrial workers could do anything if you organized the work properly and trusted them to do it." That's what mattered to him. Today, no Liberty ships remain in commercial service, though several are preserved as museum ships. At the Richmond Museum of History, an exhibit chronicles the Kaiser shipyard's achievements. A section devoted to the Robert E. Peary build includes photographs, newsreel footage, and technical analysis of Reeves's continuous welding techniques. A placard quotes Kaiser's statement after Peary's successful sea trials. "Experts said it couldn't be done. Traditional shipbuilders said our methods were crazy. They said ships built that fast would fail. But American workers proved them wrong, not with theories, not with calculations, but by building ships that worked." That's the American advantage. We try things. We learn by doing. We improve through practice. Our workers are our secret weapon. Give them proper tools, proper organization, and trust them to deliver. They will exceed every expert's prediction. The broader lesson from Liberty ship production extends beyond shipbuilding. When facing seemingly impossible challenges, conventional wisdom says, respect the limits. Experts explain why things can't be done. Experience teaches patience. But sometimes, especially during crisis, conventional wisdom is wrong. Sometimes experts miss possibilities. Sometimes experience becomes blind to new methods. Kaiser and Reeves succeeded because they ignored conventional wisdom. Kaiser had no shipbuilding experience, so he wasn't limited by shipbuilding traditions. Reeves had no maritime welding background, so he wasn't bound by maritime welding rules. Their ignorance of proper methods freed them to develop better methods. This pattern appears throughout innovation history. Outsiders succeed where experts fail because outsiders don't know what's supposedly impossible. They try things experts would dismiss immediately. Sometimes outsiders fail spectacularly because expertise matters. But sometimes outsiders discover that expert consensus was wrong, and impossible just meant nobody tried it yet. Organizations facing challenges have a choice. Listen only to experts who explain limits, or listen to practitioners who see possibilities. Both perspectives matter. Experts prevent stupid mistakes. Practitioners find new approaches. The art is knowing when to trust expertise and when to trust experimentation. In 1942, maritime experts said ships couldn't be built that quickly. Kaiser and Reeves built them anyway. The experts were wrong, not because they were stupid, but because their experience was with different methods. Kaiser's methods were new. Reeves's welding was new. New methods change what's possible, but only if people try them despite expert skepticism. Raymond Reeves welded ship hulls faster than anyone thought possible. He didn't calculate if it was theoretically achievable. He tried it, refined it, perfected it. Then he taught others. That's how practical innovation works. You don't prove it's possible, then do it. You do it, prove it works, then explain why. Theory follows practice. Practice doesn't wait for theory. The SS Robert E. Peary proved American industrial capacity could overcome any enemy through speed, scale, and determination. But it also proved something more fundamental. Workers given proper tools, proper organization, and trust to perform will achieve things experts declare impossible. That was true in 1942. It remains true today. Trust your people. Give them what they need. Then get out of their way and watch what they accomplish. 4 days, 15 hours, 29 minutes. From keel to launch. One welder's crazy technique. 4,500 workers' incredible effort. One ship that changed how the world thought about industrial production. And a lesson that lasts. Impossible is just what nobody's done yet.